Now we're joined by Mohammed Daniel, who grew up in North London and was Jewish until 1998 when he reverted to Islam. His journey to Islam began with a trip to Palestine in 1988. He's a poet who has written poems regarding Palestine. Welcome, Mohammed.
Hi there. How are you doing, Chris?
Well done, thank you. I hope you've got one of your poems for us again. We always like hearing one of your poems. We'll come back to it in a minute. Can I just say, we've just been seeing the spokesperson for one of the chiefs of the Israeli Defense Forces saying this war is going to go on for months and months. Israel is now quite isolated in the world. It has the support of the United States, which obviously counts for a lot. The United Kingdom and Germany. Beyond that, very little internationally. Do you think that sort of statement is having any repercussions within Israel itself, or any revulsion against this continuing for months and months and months?
I'd like to say yes. I'm not so sure, to be honest. I think the issues within Israel are so deep that statements one way or another like that are not the things that will change them. I was listening to a podcast on Al Jazeera yesterday, which I'd recommend anyone to listen to. It's called What People in Israel Are Thinking. And it's interviewing a 23-year-old girl who's she's part of a small protest movement against what's going on. And they were protesting even well before, I can't remember what they're called, Chabash or something like that. And they were protesting even before the time, all of this started. And she was just talking about how she's been beaten and how she's she's worried to even go out, and they're scared to even protest anymore or do anything anymore. And that people see them as traitors. And it does seem like the vast majority of Israeli society is feeling like that. So I don't know if that will change that. I think deeper things are needed to shift that.
And do you think there's a realization just how isolated they are in terms of the rest of the world? I mean, even in the United States, when I was seriously talking about growing numbers of trade unions, civic organizations are turning against this. Opinion polls are showing support very similar to Britain in support for a ceasefire. Israel in a world stage is now, as I say, relatively isolated. Is there any notion of this in Israel, do you think?
I think the problem is it plays into the narrative of Zionism. Zionism is this, it's a really complex narrative, and it caters for all eventualities. And the way it caters for this, that what you're talking about, is through saying, well, they're anti-Semites. The whole world. Everybody's anti-Semite. Anybody who disagrees with us is an anti-Semite. Done. And it closes the debate to say that and to accept that. Obviously not to accept it is what we do, but people do. And a lot of Jews do, not just in Israel. And that closes the debate. And then you can't talk to them because they just see you as an anti-Semite. Or if you're Jewish, they see you as a self-hating Jew.
And then, that must, create conditions in which really a society which is under siege. Because it's, if you're that isolated, if you believe the whole world is against you, it has quite serious repercussions.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it means that it doesn't matter what you do, right? Because whatever you do, they're going to hate you. So might as well do anything. That's the logic. Obviously, for Muslims, that's different. Or for anyone religious, that's different, because we've got a belief that transcends that God sees what you do, and that what you do matters irrelevant of what other people think, whether they're anti-Semitic or racist.
But also, anti-Semitism has never been part of Islam. Jews lived happily in Baghdad, Thessalonica, right across the whole Ottoman Empire and beyond. It's never been. It was a Christian construct.
Yeah, and still do. I was watching one of those rabbis from the Natura Carta. I can never pronounce it right. The really religious guys who are in the demonstrations everywhere have been part of pro-Palestinian movement since it began. And they were talking about how oh my gosh, my mind's gone blank. Sorry, Chris, I've been ill for the past week, and sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. We're just going to watch this report of a BBC presenter who's been slammed by a Palestinian politician for media bias. I'll get your thoughts on this, Mohammed.
I wonder if you do have to acknowledge the barbarity, the brutality of the attack on Israelis in southern Israel by Hamas before this can move forwards.
Oh, God. I mean, I can't believe I'm hearing the same thing over and over again. This is a preoccupation with the Western media because something happened to Israel for the first time in its history. Everybody's up in arms and its victims have to condemn themselves. Israel has been doing this to us for decades. Piecemeal, day in, day out, people killed, homes demolished. And we're telling you how many Palestinians have been killed by a brutal Israeli occupation. Total siege in Gaza, total destruction and land theft in the West Bank. Nobody brings Hamas spokespeople, Israeli spokespeople and say, do you condemn this? Isn't this brutal? Isn't this genocide? Isn't this? No. But the moment people under siege, look at Gaza. It's an area where people haven't had a day of normal life. And then when they lash out, when they break out, immediately all sorts of horrific labels are used.
Were the Israeli citizens legitimate
the problem
targets?
is using, as I said, this logic.
Are
Using
you-
this logic.
I just want to be clear.
Exactly.
I just want to be clear. Are you saying that the Israeli citizens were legitimate targets?
No, I don't believe in civilians being legitimate targets at all. At all. In the same way as we are not legitimate targets of Israel. Our homes, our lands are not at its disposal. Our freedom, our rights have been denied. No, don't put words in my mouth.
Okay.
Never. Civilians are never legitimate targets. But what I'm talking about is the double standard.
Okay.
Israel is an occupying power. This has to be acknowledged. Israel has been torturing the Palestinians since 1947. It is time.
I'm joined again by Mohammed Daniel. Mohammed, she stood her ground there really well, didn't she?
Yeah, but why should she have to? It's obscene. I saw her at the beginning of the conflict being asked exactly the same question. Do you condemn Hamas? It's disgusting. I can't. It's shameful to see journalists, so-called journalists, behaving like that. And then she didn't listen to anything she said, and then after what she said, she just said the same thing again and tried to put words into her mouth. It's unbelievable. It's the inhumanity of the double standards is just incredible. And I think it's created a situation where everybody sees it in the world. So like everybody's woken up. And I have written a poem just now about that.
Okay, let's hear the poem.
I'll say that because a sister in America she texted me and she said she's in touch with a lot of journalists on the ground in Palestine. And she said a lot of them are feeling really depressed because, here it is still going on. Even people who have been in even everything they've been doing in Gaza to tell the world about what's going on. And it's just still going on. It's getting worse and everybody's becoming desensitized and it's normalized. And I've been ill the last week, but usually when I'm ill, I just curl up and don't think about anybody else. But I haven't been able to do that because I've been thinking about them and like, what's this to what they're going through? So anyway, so this poem is for the journalists of Gaza. Bismillah. They're trying to put out the light of the people of Palestine. But we're here to tell you that you shine. You've awoken strength we didn't know we had. So don't be sad. Don't be sad. You see, my dears, by your efforts, the narrative's changed. Now things will never be the same. A veil has been lifted indeed. So do not grieve. Do not grieve. But lift up your head, carry on. By Allah, it is you who have won, and Palestine will be free. You sow the seeds. Sow the seeds. That's it.
Okay, I mean, it's an interesting thought because Israel it's been seen, what you've said is interesting. I mean, you get that narrative from, Israel has to defend itself. That really does not cut the mustard anymore, does it? I mean, millions of people are just simply saying, well, why You know, why are we hearing this mantra? And why, when you look at the death toll in the 7th of October, you know, 1,200 compared to, you know, 10 times that now in Gaza, more, 20 times that in Gaza. It doesn't really cut the mustard, does it?
It's never cut the mustard. It's not that that's changed. What's changed is people seeing that it doesn't cut the mustard. You know, that's all. And I hope and I pray that things will never go back to people thinking that it does cut the mustard, you know?
Okay, and when I watch this report here, is a young man from the West Bank being tortured by Israeli forces because he doesn't have a Telegram account.
محمد نعمان عنساوي من عبوين. أنا اللي صار معي إنه امبارح على الساعة 9 في الليل بكيت مروح من الشغل، فبين جلجلية وسنجل تفاجأت في محسوم للجيش، فطلعوا يعني من بين الشجر وإشي زي هيك، فوقفوني وكان لي في الباص وأعطيني المفتاح، ما سألني عن هويتي ولا عن أي شيء، قال لي أعطيني تلفونك، أعطيت تلفوني، فتح التلفون، قال لي ليش فيش تليجرام على التلفون؟ قلت له فيش عندي تليجرام، قال لي لا أنت مسحته كل ما توصل عندي، قلت له لا فيش عندي تليجرام، قال لي لا في عندك تليجرام وهذا الرقم في عليه تليجرام. بعدها نزلني من السيارة وأجوا علي الجيش ضربوني على وجهي، بعدين هو يقلب على المواقع لقى صورة على الواتساب على جروب صورة الشهيد وديع الحواح، فلما شافها صار يضربوا فيي وبعدين سحبوني ورموني على الأرض. أجا جندي قاعد على فوقي وصار يخنق فيي وحط البرد في فمي وصار يقول لي موت موت، يعني أنا لا إراديا زكيت الجندي شوي، فهجموا علي الجيش الجنود التموا حوالي، فأجا واحد ضربني في البارودة على راسي هان، يعني الحمد لله رب العالمين، يعني على إثرها إنه 6 قطب في راسي، وضربوني على وجهي وعلى جرياتي وعلى ظهري، وكانوا يسبوا حماس والجهاد. بعدها لما الدم صار ينزل كثير من راسي يعني بطلت قادر اوقف منيح، اجوا علي قالوا لي خلاص يلا روح، مشيت شوي بعدها وهذا اللي صار، يعني ما قدرتش اكمل السواقة واجوا شباب اخذوني، يعني بعدها بعرف شو صار.
Well, I mean, tragically, I mean, that sort of thing, and it's going to create in that young man hatred. And that's what Israel is creating. It's creating a road for its own back. I mean, in Gaza and the West Bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's just routine, this. Look at how normally he talks about it, mashallah, how he can bear it, whereas the rest of us would be screaming and crying and, you know, even recounting it. How is it that these people have to go through this and that the world watches? It's bemusing, and it's gone on too long, you know. It has to stop, inshallah.
Mohammed Daniel, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you get better soon as well. So, wishing you luck. We're going to have this report. The Palestinian Prime Minister has said that Israel is starving